Have you ever noticed how some people seem to possess an almost effortless ability to succeed at anything they attempt? They launch a business and within 2 years it's generating millions. They try a creative skill and within months they're producing work that looks fully professional. They enter a competitive field and rise to the top while others with decades of experience remain stuck. And what do most people say when they witness this? They're lucky. They have connections. They started with money. They were born talented. You've heard these explanations countless times. Maybe you've even used them yourself. But what if I told you that luck, connections, money, and talent aren't the real factors? What if the advantage these people have is something entirely different? Something unrelated to external benefits and completely tied to the way they interpret the world. The reality is, masters don't just work differently from average people. They perceive differently. They've developed what the Japanese call mitsuk, the capacity to see not only with the eyes but with the mind, body, and spirit working together. This isn't mystical thinking. It's a trainable mental skill that sets apart the beginner who relies on technique from the master who moves beyond technique altogether. And the most intriguing part is that ancient Japanese warriors built a structured method to cultivate this ability. But there's a catch. Learning this method requires you to accept something that may challenge your ego. It forces you to consider that everything you believed about learning, practice, and mastery could be deeply flawed. Before I share this entire system, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, tap the like button, and tell me in the comments. What's one skill you're struggling to master even with steady effort? Feel free to open up. I truly enjoy reading your comments and interacting with you. Now, let's explore this ancient wisdom more closely. Let me tell you about a young man named Kenji. He lived in feudal Japan during the Sengoku period, and from the age of 13 he had one unwavering goal: to become a master swordsman. Kenji wasn't born into a samurai family. He had no connections to the warrior class, no personal master to guide him. Only a deep passion that burned inside him like a fire that couldn't be put out. While other boys in his village accepted their futures as farmers or merchants, Kenji spent every spare moment learning the way of the sword. He watched samurai who passed through the village and tried to absorb every movement. He read scrolls describing famous battles and studied the writings of renowned swordmasters like Miyamoto Musashi. By 16, he could recite major principles of combat strategy from memory. He knew the names of every classical form. He understood Bushido philosophy better than many young samurai. His theoretical knowledge was immense. But when he picked up a wooden bakken and tried to train, something unusual happened. His body wouldn't respond the way he expected. Movements that looked smooth and effortless when performed by masters felt stiff and awkward when he attempted them. The sword felt heavy and unfamiliar in his grip. For 2 years, Kenji remained stuck in this contradiction. The more he learned, the more he understood, yet his physical ability barely improved. He stayed at a beginner level while others advanced beyond him. Then one day everything shifted. Kenji was practicing alone in the forest when an old ronin suddenly appeared. "You move like someone repeating poetry they don't truly understand," the ronin said. "You know the words, but not the meaning." Kenji felt his face heat with embarrassment. "I've studied every scroll I could find, master. I know the techniques." "No," the ronin replied firmly. "You know about the techniques. That is not the same as knowing them." The old warrior stepped closer. "My name is Teacher. I served 3 different lords before I became masterless. And I see in you the same mistake I made when I was young. You are trying to learn the sword with only your mind. But the sword cannot be learned that way." Kenji frowned, confused. How else could someone learn except through the mind? "That," Teacher said, "is exactly why you are stuck. You believe the mind is one thing. But the ancient masters understood that humans have 3 minds, not one. And mastery comes from uniting all 3. Teacher brought Kenji to a small clearing and sat down. "Before I teach you anything about the sword, you must understand the 3 minds. This knowledge has been passed down by Japanese masters for generations, but very few in your time understand it anymore. The first mind," Teacher began, "is Shin, the thinking mind. This is what you've been using, the mind of logic, analysis, and conscious thought. This mind learns facts, memorizes techniques, and grasps principles. It is important, but it is not where mastery is found. He picked up a stick and drew lines in the dirt. The second mind is Tai, the body mind. This is the intelligence stored in your muscles, bones, and nervous system. This mind doesn't think in words or ideas. It thinks in movement, in sensation, in physical memory. When you watch a master move with flawless form, you're watching the body mind at work. The third mind, Teacher continued, lowering his voice, is Shin Shin, the spirit mind. This is the deepest intelligence, the part of you that knows without knowing why. The masters call it Mushin or no mind. At this level, there is no separation between you and the sword, between intent and action, between yourself and your opponent. Kenji tried to grasp this. But sensei, how do I train these other minds? I only know how to use the thinking mind. Exactly, Teacher said. This is the flaw in modern learning. Your entire life, you've been taught that learning means studying with the thinking mind, reading, memorizing, understanding theories. That has made your thinking mind strong but has left the other two minds underdeveloped. True mastery requires all three minds working in complete unity. And there is a method, a structured progression the ancient warriors used to unify these three minds. They called it the three gates. The first gate, Teacher explained, is Kata-en-ai, the gate of form. At this stage, you train the body-mind to understand what your thinking mind already knows. For the next 6 months, you will practice only one kata, the most basic sword form. You will perform it slowly, with full attention 1,000 times a week. Kenji's heart sank. 1 kata for 6 months? But sensei, I want to learn real fighting techniques. Tishi's expression hardened. And that impatience is exactly why you will never reach mastery if you keep thinking this way. The first gate is not about collecting moves. It is about teaching your body-mind to speak. Right now, when you hold the sword, your thinking mind tries to control each detail. Move the foot here. Adjust the blade like this. Shift your weight that way. Your thinking mind is constantly talking, giving instructions to your body like a commander shouting orders at confused soldiers. This is too slow, too rigid, too conscious. In a real fight, there's no time for the thinking mind to direct anything. The body-mind must act instantly without thought. But your body-mind is currently untrained. It doesn't know how to move correctly because it's never been taught. So we must train it. And training the body-mind requires a different method than training the thinking mind. Teacher demonstrated the kata, a simple pattern of cuts, blocks, and stances. You will not think while practicing this. No analysis, no trying to understand. Just repeat it again and again. Let your body-mind absorb the pattern through repetition. For the first month, Kenji struggled. His thinking mind kept interrupting. Am I doing this correctly? Should my foot shift more? Is the angle right? The constant mental noise made the movements feel stiff and unnatural. But Teacher was firm. Stop thinking. Just move. Feel the form. Let your body learn. Slowly, something started to change. Around the third month, during the 3,847th repetition, something remarkable happened. Kenji's body performed the kata flawlessly, smooth, precise, and natural, and he hadn't been thinking about it at all. His thinking mind had gone quiet, and his body-mind simply acted. Did you feel that? Teacher asked from nearby. That moment when thought disappears and only movement remains, that is the first sign of the body-mind waking up. What Kenji experienced has a clear neurological explanation that modern science has only recently confirmed. When you learn a physical skill, the knowledge first lives in your prefrontal cortex, the conscious, analytical part of the brain. This stage is slow, mentally demanding, and drains energy quickly. But with enough correct repetition, usually between 300 and 1,000 repetitions, something important occurs. The motor pattern begins shifting from the prefrontal cortex to the cerebellum and basal ganglia. These older, much faster brain regions operate automatically, below conscious awareness. Once a skill is stored there, it becomes what neuroscientists call procedural memory or muscle memory. The skill no longer requires deliberate thinking. It becomes automatic, smooth, and reliable. This is what ancient Japanese warriors understood intuitively and referred to as the body-mind. They didn't have modern brain scans, but centuries of observation taught them that true skill lives beneath conscious thought. Yet most people today don't grasp this. The shift from conscious to unconscious processing only happens with a very specific style of practice. Not every repetition creates mastery. The practice must be slow enough to maintain perfect form, focused enough to prevent mental drifting, repetitive enough to deeply encode the pattern, and free from constant analysis. This is why Teacher forbade Kenji from thinking during training. Analysis keeps skill stuck in the thinking mind. To move it into the body-mind, you must practice in a state the Japanese called mushin no shin, the mind of no mind. After 6 months at the first gate, Kenji's body had learned the kata so thoroughly that he could perform it perfectly while speaking, while distracted, even half asleep. The pattern had fully transferred into his body-mind. Now, Teacher said, you are ready for the second gate. The first gate taught your body-mind to execute form flawlessly. Teacher continued, but if you stop at this stage, you will remain rigid. You'll perform kata perfectly in practice, but you'll be lost in a real fight where nothing happens the way you expect. The second gate is called Henkishin, the transformation mind. At this stage, you learn to adjust, react, and move with shifting conditions. Over the next year, Teacher completely changed Kenji's training. Instead of repeating the same kata endlessly, Kenji now faced constant variation. Teacher attacked from different directions at different speeds with different weapons using feints and deception. Sometimes Kenji trained one-on-one, and sometimes multiple students attacked him at once. At first, Kenji felt overwhelmed. His body-mind knew the kata perfectly, but real combat was unpredictable. Nothing fit the clean patterns he had memorized. Your body-mind speaks only one language right now, Teacher said after a difficult session. It can recite one sentence with perfection, but mastery requires fluency, the ability to speak 1,000 sentences, even ones you've never spoken before. That is the goal of the second gate. You are not learning new techniques. You are teaching your body-mind to improvise, to take the foundation from the first gate and transform it endlessly. Teacher then introduced a concept that changed everything, Ma'ai, the understanding of distance and timing in combat. Most students think fighting is about techniques. Block like this, strike like that. But masters know it is really about Ma'ai. With perfect Ma'ai, even a simple technique becomes powerful. With poor Ma'ai, even the most complex move will fail. Ma'ai cannot be learned through the thinking mind. It is too fluid, too fast, too contextual. Only the body-mind can sense and respond to Ma'ai in real time. For months, Kenji trained his body-mind to feel timing and distance. Teacher would attack, and Kenji had to respond with only the minimum necessary motion. No excess, no hesitation. Not too early, not too late. Just enough. Gradually Kenji developed what the masters call sen or initiative, the ability to sense the moment before the moment, to feel when an opponent is preparing to strike, not through conscious thought but through direct bodily perception. One day, Kenji blocked an attack he hadn't consciously seen. His body reacted before his mind registered the threat. There, Teacher said with rare praise, your body-mind is becoming intelligent. It is learning to perceive and act without waiting for instructions from your thinking mind. As Kenji's body-mind improved, he noticed something unusual. He could feel things he couldn't explain. He would suddenly know an opponent was about to strike high even though their posture showed nothing. He could sense when someone behind him was watching. He could feel an opponent's intention, the difference between real commitment and hesitation. Sensei, Kenji asked one evening, am I imagining these sensations, or is something real happening? Teacher smiled. Both. You're not imagining them, the perceptions are real, but they do not come from where you think. The thinking mind gathers information slowly and in order. I see, brain analyzes, decision follows, then action. This is far too slow for mastery. But the body-mind processes information in a different way. It takes in thousands of tiny signals all at once, micro-movements, shifts in energy, changes in breath, variations in timing. It processes these beneath consciousness and produces what feels like intuition. The masters call this ki, the ability to perceive and merge with an opponent's intention and energy. It seems mystical, but it's simply your nervous system functioning at a level your thinking mind cannot reach. In the second gate, Teacher explains something profound. You are training your body-mind not just to move skillfully, but to perceive deeply. The body has its own intelligence, its own way of understanding. As it develops, you begin noticing aspects of reality that were always present but hidden from your thinking mind. Modern researchers call this embodied cognition, the idea that intelligence isn't confined to the brain but distributed throughout the entire nervous system. Your body can genuinely know things your conscious mind cannot. Elite athletes call this being in the zone. Musicians call it flow. Warriors call it mushin, no mind. But all describe the same experience. The body-mind taking control while the thinking mind becomes quiet. After 18 months at the second gate, Kenji had developed a flexible, adaptive fighting style. His body-mind could respond to almost any situation with appropriate technique. He had reached a level most would call expert. But then Teacher said something that shocked him. You are skilled now, perhaps even at an expert level. But you are still not a master. There is a third gate, Teacher said. And only one student out of 100 ever reaches it. Entering it requires you to release everything you've worked so hard to learn. The third gate is called mushin, no mind. This is where the spirit mind awakens. At the first gate, your thinking mind taught the body mind. At the second gate, the body mind learned to adapt and perceive. But in the third gate, something deeper comes forward, the part of you that exists beyond thought and beyond physical form. Kenji was puzzled. Sensei, what exists beyond thought and body? Presence, Teacher replied. Pure awareness, the witness, the part of you that notices thought, notices the body, notices everything, yet is not itself a thing. At the third gate, you stop using techniques, techniques begin to use you. In fact, there are no techniques anymore. There is only perfect response to the moment, arising effortlessly from emptiness. For the next 3 years, Tishi's training became almost paradoxical. He stopped teaching Kenji anything new and instead began removing things. You think too much, he would say, halting practice. Empty your mind. On another day, you're trying too hard. Stop trying. Just be. At other times, you're still choosing techniques. Stop choosing. Let the moment act through you. Kenji found this deeply frustrating. When he tried to quiet his mind, his thoughts grew louder. When he tried not to try, he realized he was still trying. Eventually, after a discouraging practice, he sat down in defeat. Sensei, how do I stop my mind from thinking? Every time I try to empty it, more thoughts appear. Teacher sat beside him. Because you're still using the thinking mind to control itself. That is like trying to see your own eyes, it cannot be done. The third gate is not about controlling the mind. It is about realizing you are not the mind. You are the awareness in which mind, body, and world arise. He pointed to the sky. Who is aware of that cloud? I am, Kenji said. And who is aware of your body sitting here? I am. And who is aware of your thoughts and feelings? I am. Then, softly, Teacher asked, who is this I that is aware of all things yet is not itself a thing? For the first time, Kenji's thinking mind went completely still. Not because he forced it, but because the question pointed him beyond the mind. This awareness, Teacher continued, is what the ancient masters called the spirit mind. It is not something you possess. It is what you truly are beneath all conditioning, all knowledge, all identity. Understanding this with logic was easy. Living it was something else. For months afterward, Kenji experienced brief glimpses of this deeper awareness, during meditation, during practice, even during ordinary tasks. In these moments, the constant mental noise vanished, replaced by a profound stillness. The world became intensely vivid. Colors were brighter, sounds clearer. Time seemed to slow down. And during training, something remarkable occurred. Kenji began responding to attacks he had not consciously perceived. His body moved with perfect timing and precision. Yet there was no sense of, I am doing this. The movement simply happened. Teacher called this state sway, flowing water. When water runs down a mountain, it does not think or analyze. It simply responds to every obstacle with effortless intelligence. This, Teacher said, is the third gate. You become like water, responsive, effortless, spontaneous. 5 years into his training, Kenji was sparring against 3 opponents at once. Suddenly, something opened, or rather, something fell away. The sense of separation dissolved. There was no Kenji fighting. There was only pure movement, arising from nothing. His body flowed naturally, responding to all 3 attackers with impossible grace. When the session ended, he stood breathless. Not from effort, but from the strangeness of what had happened. He couldn't recall making a single choice. There was no thought, no strategy, no intention, just action emerging on its own. Teacher watched, eyes wet. You have passed the third gate. What you experienced is Mushin. That is mastery. But he offered a warning. Do not cling to this state. Many students feel Mushin once and spend their lives trying to chase it. This is a trap. The third gate is not a state you achieve and keep. It is your natural condition when all interference falls away. Some days it will be clear. Other days, thought and effort will return. This is normal. It is part of being human. A true master is not someone who lives in Mushin at all times, Teacher said. A true master is someone who can move gracefully among all 3 minds as needed. The thinking mind is not your enemy. It is a powerful tool, when used correctly. Introduce unpredictability. Change your environment. Push your body-mind to adjust by facing new opponents, using different materials, solving unfamiliar problems, and responding to shifting conditions. This is how the body-mind learns to improvise and develop flow. The third mistake, trying to force the third gate. You read about flow states, try to let go, attempt to rely on intuition, but you haven't built the underlying skills that make real effortlessness possible. Solution: stop trying to reach no mind. Instead, complete the first and second gates so thoroughly that the third opens on its own. You cannot force emptiness. You can only clear what blocks it. The third gate isn't something you earn. It is what's left when your skill is so deep that effort falls away. Here is the exact training structure Kenji gave to serious students. You can apply it now in any field you want to master. First gate practice, months 1 to 6. Choose 2 to 3 core skills in your field. Practice each daily with full attention. Minimum 100 repetitions per skill per day. No variation, no creativity, just clean repetition. Move slowly enough to maintain perfect form. Reduce analytic thinking during practice. Track repetition totals. Aim for 1,000 plus per skill. When you can perform a skill accurately even when distracted, you're ready for Gate 2. Second gate practice, months 7 to 24. Continue daily fundamentals, 50 reps each. Add variation, changing contexts, shifting conditions. Practice responding to unpredictability. Observe how masters adapt and adjust. Strengthen your perceptual sensitivity, your domain's mental ear. Combine skills in new ways. Seek partners, opponents, or variable practice environments. When adaptation feels natural and intuitive, you are nearing the third gate. Third gate opening, year 3+. Continue earlier training with less deliberate effort. Add daily meditation or stillness, 10 to 20 minutes. Practice your skill without trying to practice. Release technique while keeping accuracy. Rest in awareness as you perform. Let actions arise on their own. This gate opens when it is ready. Cannot be rushed. Critical reminders. Most people quit in the first gate because it feels repetitive. That boredom is part of the test. Many never leave the first gate because they keep adding new methods instead of deepening what they already have. Others try to push themselves into the third gate using ideas, books, or mental effort. This never works. The gates must be completed in order. There are no shortcuts. Kenji lived to age 78. Near the end of his life, surrounded by his most loyal students, one asked, "Master, after all these years, what was the greatest lesson you learned?" Kenji paused for a long moment. Then he answered, "Mastery is not about becoming something new. It is about clearing away what blocks what you already are. The first gate shapes form. The second gate teaches adaptation. The third gate reveals that you were never really learning at all, only remembering your deeper nature beneath the habits and conditioning. The thinking mind, the body mind, and the spirit mind are not separate. They are three aspects of one unified nature. When they move together, that is what the ancients called shinshin ichinyo, mind, body, and spirit as one. He looked at his students with a calm, steady gaze. Don't waste years searching for shortcuts. They don't exist. The three gates are the path. Walk each one fully. Don't rush. Don't skip. And don't quit when training feels dull or uncomfortable. And remember, the path itself is the destination. You think you are moving toward mastery, but mastery is happening right now. In every repetition, every adjustment, every moment of awareness. You are already a master. You just haven't recognized it. The gates are not barriers. They are revelations. Each shows you something deeper about who you truly are. And when you have walked through all three, you'll realize that the person who began the journey and the one who finished it are not the same, and yet were never truly separate. Those were his final words about the path. Kenji closed his eyes, took a last breath, and returned to the quiet from which all things come. His students bowed, tears in their eyes, knowing they had witnessed the completion of a true practitioner's life. But Tishi's teaching lived on through them and now through you. If this teaching resonated with you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future lessons. And share in the comments. Which gate are you currently walking through? First? Second? Third? Or are you still deciding to begin? If you watch to the very end, you're already in the top 1%. Most people quit within minutes. The fact that you stayed shows you have the patience needed for real mastery, a quality that already sets you apart from those who want results without commitment. Now stop consuming content. Close this video and begin your first gate today. Pick one foundational skill. Commit to 100 deliberate repetitions daily for the next 6 months. Years from now, you'll look back at this moment as the turning point, the day you stopped seeking and began practicing. Until next time, walk the path with integrity and focus. The three gates are waiting.